I want to take you back to one of the most shocking, world-changing events that has happened in my lifetime. 2014, revolution in Ukraine. And in the middle of all that turmoil and unrest, these guys in unmarked camo show up out of nowhere in Crimea. Crimea, remember, is this big peninsula in the southern end of Ukraine in the Black Sea. Empires had been fighting over it for centuries. But modern times, it's always been part of Ukraine. Until, back to 2014, these guys showed up, turned out to be Russian special forces seizing control of the entire peninsula.
Russian troops moving swiftly to take control of military bases in Crimea.
Russia takes control of Crimea.
20,000 Russian soldiers have been on the move across Crimea,
which Vladimir Putin promptly claimed as now part of Russia. This was not something we thought happened anymore in the world. One country just stealing part of another, especially not in Europe. And Putin was shameless. He changed Russia's maps to include Crimea. He built a giant bridge connecting Crimea directly to Russia. He even visited personally, like this was some whistle-stop tour to just another Russian territory. And he's done everything he can to make Crimea feel like part of Russia. Russian shops, Russian currency, Russian TV. And it has been this way for 12 years. A whole generation has grown up in Crimea like this. Even in all the ups and downs of war between Russia and Ukraine, Moscow's control of this territory has felt unshakable. Something the world did not like, but couldn't change and maybe never would. Until a few weeks ago, something sort of impossible started happening. Something so huge that you can actually see it from space. This is NASA Worldview, and it takes new satellite photos of Earth every night. I picked February 9th, just random date, nothing special about it. Zoom in Crimea and notice how much light there is on just a normal day. It's 2.5 million people. But now, jump forward to June. It is a lot darker. The cities got dimmer, roads got dimmer, lots of areas in darkness. I tick forward again to July. It is like the Dark Ages all of a sudden. Check these out side by side. Crimea a few months ago versus today. This is crazy. It's like those photos of North and South Korea at night. What you're looking at in these satellite images is Ukraine doing the impossible. 12 years after losing Crimea, they're making a real move for it. They've already almost completely cut it off from Russia. Moscow's iron grip over this peninsula they've controlled for more than a decade is suddenly looking very shaky. And let me give you a little glimpse of what that looks like on the ground. Suddenly not such a stronghold, is it? Well, today we are going to answer how Ukraine is pulling off this huge tide-turning advance against bigger, richer, more powerful Russia. We're going to look at where the battle for Crimea is headed, what it means for the war that has already changed the course of the world, and we are going to ask, can Ukraine really retake Crimea? Okay, so we've got a map of the war up here. This is Ukraine here, this is Russia here, and this red area is the part of Ukraine that's under Russian control. See, there's Crimea, under Russian occupation. These lines move a little bit every day, but it's been basically like this for a few years now. And we are going to use this map to show Ukraine's assault in Crimea, how they're doing it, and how it is changing the larger war, so we can answer what endgame is this pointed to? What direction we think this is ultimately going to take the war? And option one is that Ukraine will succeed in retaking Crimea. And then option two is that Ukraine will fail. Russia will hold on to Crimea. And if you've watched this channel before, you have probably already guessed what this extra empty space up here means. So yes, to give it away, it's going to turn out that these are not the only two possible endgames to Ukraine's big operation, and we will discover and fill in the remaining ones as we go. But first, let's look at what's actually happening on the ground in and around Crimea. Starting with this, a very important bridge, the Crimea Bridge, which Russia built in 2018 to connect its territory directly to Crimea. See, there's Russia, there's Crimea, there's the Crimea Bridge. It is huge, 10 miles long, 4 highway lanes, 2 heavy rail lines. It's kind of an engineering marvel, honestly. Until 2022, this happened. Ukraine set off a truck bomb timed to blow up a passing train loaded with fuel, damaging the bridge so badly that Russia closed it permanently to heavy vehicles. Russia reopened it eventually to cars and train traffic, but not to stuff like trucks or tanks, which means that for Russia, what was supposed to be this multi-billion-dollar lifeline to keep Crimea supplied and defended is now mostly useless. which means Russia had to set up new routes to Crimea to replace that bridge. They set up 2, and the first one is the sea, a stream of ferries, cargo ships, and oil tankers, which cross here, just across this little strait, the Kerch Strait where this bridge is, or more often start up here by Rostov-on-Don, where Russia has a huge military headquarters, and then cross the Sea of Azov down to Crimea. And Russia's other big route that they set up, even bigger than the sea route, is this highway, this red line that's running from Rostov all the way down to Crimea. The Russians call it Novorossiya Highway. Novorossiya means New Russia, and it's Russia's old name for Ukraine when they controlled it in the 1700s and 1800s. Subtle, right? Anyway, they stuffed that highway with trucks, and they turn it into a 24/7 mainline artery into Crimea. And these 2 routes worked for years. Russia controls the seas, their navy is huge, and Ukraine's is mostly gone. And this highway, you can see, is deep behind Russian-held lines. And both of these routes are protected by an invisible wall of Russian air defense. This is Russia's Pantsir air defense system. It's basically a big radar attached to a truck and a bunch of tiny missiles and machine guns that automatically and very quickly detect and shoot down anything in the air from miles away. And it is really, really good at knocking down drones quickly, efficiently, and cheaply, like this. And then on top of that, and really tying the whole defense system together, Russia has absolutely peppered this occupied territory with tiny little portable radars. But a lot of them are not what you're picturing. A lot of them look like this. Just a plain panel about the size of a suitcase, hidden on radio towers and on the tops of buildings. They tell Russia the moment Ukraine has a drone in the sky, so they can shoot it down, or jam the radio signal so it falls out of the sky, or send one of their own drones to just knock it down. All of which turns this whole red area into an invisible no man's land for Ukrainian drones. And those Russian drones also make it a no man's land for Ukrainian troops, too. So you look at this wall, and you think, how could Ukraine ever break through it to move on Crimea, which is all the way down here? But a couple of months ago, they found a way, starting with those little suitcase-shaped radars. Let me show you. This is from Ukraine's military. Normally I wouldn't use government material like this, but they're the only source for what I want to show you, and they're usually verified by independent analysts. Ukrainian drone teams have started hunting those radars all over Russian-held territory and blowing them up. This is a big deal. Each of these is like finding a needle in a haystack if each needle were protected by an infinite supply of Russian suicide drones. So how'd they do it? Well, Ukraine developed a few new tricks. One was learning that it would be impossible to ever actually completely beat Russia's air defense network. Like, every time they knocked out one piece of it, Russia would just replace it. So instead, Ukraine focused on opening these little short-term avenues by knocking out everything in a specific area just long enough to flood drones through the other side. This is footage from drones Ukraine surged toward a frontline airfield where Russia kept a bunch of its own drones, which they promptly blew up. Russia probably replaced all those drones within a week, but this gave Ukraine time to then hit all the little radars in the area, which blinded Russia's air defenses, even if it was just in one little area for a few days. And there's another big change that Ukraine made. Something that has changed this war, and honestly might change all wars from now on. But before we get into what that is, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor. Sponsors are how we're able to do what we do and bring you videos like this one. So thank you to Cape. And if you don't know Cape, they are America's privacy-first mobile carrier. So here's the deal. We take it for granted that modern life requires a smartphone, and that having a smartphone means getting tracked all the time, having your data sold, endless spam texts, never feeling safe from being surveilled, and that's all just the cost of being a person in the digital era, right? Well, maybe not anymore. Signing up with Cape as your cell carrier means, among other privacy features, the identifier code on your SIM card automatically rotates every 24 hours so spammers and bad guys can't track you. Your call logs automatically delete every 24 hours too. And you get a primary phone number for daily use plus 2 secondary numbers dedicated for stuff like security codes and sign-up forms. And the last one I think really speaks to how Cape thinks about privacy. Think about how often you need to give out a phone number to set up a social media page, log into your bank account or whatever. And next thing you know, you're inundated with spam. Using Cape, you can keep all that public-facing stuff isolated on your secondary number so that your real primary phone number stays private between you and real human beings. It's a very elegant little solution to the problem of needing a phone to do anything, and it speaks to the level of care that Cape brings to its many other, more technical privacy features. Cape is offering our viewers 33% off your first 6 months. If you're interested, use the link in the description or code MaxFisher33 at checkout. Now, let's get back to our story. This is from a normal military trade expo in Washington, D.C. The big contractors show off their latest wares and rub shoulders with the senior brass who will decide what to buy in next year's budgetary cycle. New helicopters or tanks or whatever take years to develop and build, but then it takes years more when they finally get in the field for any feedback to trickle back up from the people who use it to the senior brass, who pass it on to the contractor, who then adjust in their next big shipment to match what's actually working or not working in the field. But this is how every military has done it forever. Centralized, top-down, slow, until now. This is Ukraine's version of the Military Trade Expo. Engineers from those suppliers embed directly with the troops and design stuff for their needs that moment. Individual frontline units even buy their own equipment, using a points-based web portal that lets them tweak and customize as they go based on what they need and what's working. This was maybe the big breakthrough that allowed Ukraine to start ripping holes in Russia's air defenses. See, for a long time, Ukraine's drone tech was evenly matched with Russia's and maybe even a little bit behind because Russia has so many more resources developed to R&D. But once Ukraine made this change, their forces started iterating each new design and improvement way faster than Russia could keep up. And